All right, it's been a month. It's that time. I'm going to be reviewing the second issue of Alan Scott Green Lantern. I haven't had time to go to the comic book shop this week, so I had to get it digital. Obviously, I have a nice stack of comics that I'm going through and like boarding and bagging, and I'm behind on some of my other reviews. But at the way the first issue for Alan Scott Green Lantern ended, I was like, all right, I need to jump into this. I need to read this. Then I'll get to these because, Green Lantern. I'm also working on a video for the war, the war, was it War Journal Green Lantern? I have so many. Hold on. Yeah, War Journal for Green Lantern, which is John Stewart, the regular Green Lantern run as well. Wonder Woman, like a lot of good DC. That's a separate video for another time. What are you doing, baby? Yeah, you chilling? The kitten has been very like attached to me lately, and when my wife was organizing everything, she put the cat post right there to clean, but the cat is now like obsessed with just sitting over my shoulder. So she stays. Um but yeah, I was really like, okay, I gotta check out this issue. Like I need to read issue 2. And I was very unsure after finishing the first issue where it was going, how I felt about everything. Like, yes, like, freaking Cian Tormey's art is just always on point. Matt Erms as a colorist, so good. Even Lucas with the Gatami with the lettering. I do enjoy how, you know, when it's the what you think is like a thought or a flashback or this and that is actually like kind of written like on a page, and the lettering is different, so it's kind of like the journal entries, this and that, like all those elements I like. um Cerny or Tormy is just the artwork always so good. I wish there was more action in this comic to showcase that great art style, especially like I said with Matt Erm's freaking coloring of it. They really encapsulate the art style to kind of depict the late 30s to 19 like 41, 42, like so good. But after the way the first issue ended, the pacing is weird. Like 90% of this comic is a flashback to 4 years prior, so what, 37, when Alan Scott, after everything that happened on the ship with the red light and his lover dying, basically had the option of, okay, what was it, Johnny, you had the option to straighten out. So he went to Arkham Asylum of his own volition to the deviancy wing for basically conversion therapy. Now, I'm obviously not going to pretend I'm very knowledgeable about the aspects of conversion therapy, every like electroshock therapy. There was a character who I do believe they didn't say it, but in less words, and there was a lobotomy involved. Um, all the Arkham Asylum stuff, I know they're building up this backstory to the origin, which I will say Tim Sheridan took and kept true to some of the elements of the actual Alan Scott Green Lantern origin story and tweaked it a bit, made some modifications, some changes, but nothing. I mean, a few things that I don't consider like drastic, but the core of the origin is still there. What are you? She's being very fresh out, and like now she's going after my headphone cord. Um, but with all the flashbacks, this is only a 6 issue run, mind you. All right, when you're 2 issues in and barely anything current time is being shown, and you're not pushing forward the present day of the comic 1941 time frame forward, it's like you need to like I don't want to say it's a waste of pages and panels, because Tim Sheridan's the writer. This is the story they want to tell. So I can't sit there and be like, well, you're telling it wrong. Like I'm not writing this comic. I'm just a person who is taking my money and realistically buying it twice. I buy it digital and then I go pick up my physical copy for my collection, which I tend to do a lot, and I need to stop, by the way. But my thing is, you get 6 issues, And let's face it, this isn't going to be an ongoing, but when and I'm still hard pressed and stuck on this that it's been over 70 years since we had an Alan Scott solo run, and like if this ends up being a success in this thing, we could finally get an Alan Scott ongoing, which I would love, honestly, because then I can have John Stewart with War Journal as an ongoing. I don't know if it's actually an ongoing or not. Um, or if we could have the regular Green Lantern line, and then we could have an Alan Scott, like a JSA Golden Era ongoing. Mm. Oh, that'd be delicious. But this issue, I don't know. I guess I got to talk about the changes that are from the original origin for Alan Scott getting the Green Lantern powers to this issue written by Tim Sheridan. So while he's in Arkham, his I don't want to say cellmate, his roommate, his person who shares the room with them, because it's not really, it doesn't seem like a cell, but you know it is because it's Arkham Asylum, but is named Billy. This is someone who I assuming based on what they're transgender. Is a guy who puts on a wig, likes to be called Billy, puts on makeup, um, because they're so nice. Alan is so nice to Billy. They made a gift for them, which was the actual lantern, um, which was like in workshop, and I'm like, okay. A lot of this flashback to Arkham Asylum was really showcasing Alan Scott kind of getting frustrated, trying to find a way to like get out of there, like what needs to be done, while also still reeling with Johnny's death, wearing the ring. But they really just, a lot of it was just conversations of, hey, him wearing the ring, he's not moving on, you know, and just it and like also foreshadowing this voice in his head, which obviously we would assume was like the red flame, but it's actually green, and it's kind of saying like we bring life, everything else, and I'm like, okay, and all of this flashback and stuff is basically Alan Scott explaining this to Derby, and who I still say from the lettering and like the dialogue, I do like how they hyphenate and change around the words and spell it how it sounds because he's from New York, he has that accent, and it's also 1941, so I'm sitting there, I'm not gonna do the voice or how I think the accent, like I'm not gonna impersonate any accents. But in my head, while I'm reading the comic, the accent is there, and like the way they do the spelling and the lettering, I like it. I actually do. I will say that was actually that's one of the things I enjoy about that character. Um, so you know, it turns to say where Alan Scott wants to escape, or well, not escape. He leave. He checked in on his own. He was told he could leave at any time. After Billy gets what I'm assuming is the lobotomy, and is now Billings, back to normal, as you know, the nurse basically says in fewer and more words than that, like about it, and going back to his family, and even out like, well, the family is one that put him in here, and so he decides, I want to leave. He tries to, and they're like, no, and they got his book and they're reading it, and they're like, oh, okay, and he gets his electroshock therapy, which they don't show, but it's obviously very adamant that clear that's what happens. Now he plans an escape and escapes on a train. Now they kept the nature of him being a train engineer. The train crash for the origin and everything else is there. Obviously, I forgot the name. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna freaking pull it up. I forgot what it was. Um, I always forget the name. What was the name of the brand? Decker. Decker. So they the whole Decker side of things and the train crash and everything else is still kept there. And I the artwork of the train crash, my oof, it looks so good. I like almost like the graininess to it where it's like, hey, this is like, the 30s. And that leads all the voice of the light, and Alan Scott getting his Green Lantern powers. And let me say, the full page thing of it with power and the lantern, like I'm showing it on screen right here. This look, ugh, that's why I wish there was more action in the comic, because the coloring and the artwork, like that green pops so much, especially with kind of like the more muddled coloring and for everything in the background of everything. Like, it's so good. Like, and you know, my downside is like a lot of the current time stuff in 1941. So much flashback stuff that it's like we have a murder mystery going on, and yes, we got our origin of him getting his powers, but I feel like it took too long in this issue. I don't think a lot of like my thing with a comic is if you cut out a section of a comic and it doesn't change, like so you got point A, point B. If there's anything in between, if you cut that out, does it still make sense from point A to point B? If it does, then it's filler, and and you could spend time building up more. We have this murder mystery and everything else. We still don't know what's going on 2 issues in. We get another full shot, but from the back of our Red Lantern, so we don't know who that is. And it's just like, okay, we're basically where we were at the end of the first issue. The only difference is now we know how he got his powers and everything that was happening in Arkham Asylum. Was Arkham Asylum stuff necessary fully for the origins? No. But I feel like for Tim Sheridan, for the story he's telling, he may think all that was necessary. And I'm going to address the elephant in the room because no one wanted to comment on my video about this, but I did get some DMs. I said it in my first video. I'm going to say it in this one. I don't care that Alan Scott is gay. I do not. This does not change anything for me for Green Lantern. I don't care. The sexuality of a character does not affect whether or not I like a superhero. Like, at all. It does not matter to me. So to come in the DMs and be like, "Hey, why? Like, you're kind of homophobic towards me." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Like, I have comments saying this is a fair review, a great review, and I'm a fan of Green Lantern. I don't care about this stuff. I just want it to feel like Green Lantern, especially Alan Scott. It doesn't. Now, mind you, I'm not reading JSA stuff. I'm not reading Jay Garrick, The Flash, or anything. Like, I'm not a big Flash fan. I've been very adamant about this. I'm only for like this Gold Age stuff. I'm only really reading Alan Scott Green Lantern. Um, but my thing is, if we're going into a third issue, and the next issue is called The Spirit and the Flesh, and I'm like, I don't know how much more focus can be sent on like flashback stuff that does unless there's something drastic with who this Red Lantern villain is that's been in these flashbacks. Nothing's really been fully hinted at or foreshadowed where it's obvious. So there may be a aha moment in the third issue where you're like, oh, it was the orderly that helped them escape the whole time. He's the Red Lantern. I don't know. But like, other than that, it's like we need like I would love an issue where it's just focusing on solving this mystery. What's going on? How is this a thing? Like, why did this person who they found that was drowned and burnt look like Alan's previous lover, Johnny, who died? How did that victim resemble them so much? This person, obviously, even Derby says it, Alan Scott knows who they are. They have to have personal ties to this person. So I'm like, okay, this is intriguing. And I don't know if they're doing all these flashbacks so we can like it's one of them, but it's like there hasn't been real focus heavily enough for it because most of the flashbacks, especially post escaping, was Alan Scott talking about, oh, there's this one person, like I met a lot of friends, lovers, maybe even more, and it's like, okay, cool, like I get it, but like foreshadow who in the past might be this Red Lantern, or show me current time you trying to figure it out, like investigating the scene, like something. And I'm just frustrated because the pacing. We don't need this much flashback. There's so much flashbacks in the first one, and now in this one, and it's like, I think altogether between these 2 issues, we spent maybe 5, maybe 6 pages total in 1941, and the rest has been flashbacks 4 years prior, 5 years prior. Like, and it's like, at some point we need some current time stuff to push this story forward. and right now it's like at a standstill. Like I said, basically at the end of this comic, where we are exactly where we were from the end of the first issue. All we got was some more backstory and an origin, which, I mean, I get it. Like, it's different with Hal Jordan and all the other Green Lanterns with their origins. Like, we kind of know it. Superman's origin. A lot of people probably never read any Golden Age Green Lantern or JSA stuff. So it's like, yeah, here's an origin. I think it took too long. Um, Obviously, I'm going to keep getting this comic. I'm going to keep pulling the comic. It's 6 issues. You know, I like Green Lantern. So it's like, but from the standpoint of, is this like, I was unsure of the comic after the first issue. Now I'm that dread of this may not be a coming to the realization this may not be a good run, a good little mini series, but I'm always the type that's hopefully optimistic with my comics. I'm not doom and gloom where I'm like, oh, this is ass. This is the worst thing I've ever read. This is no, it's not. I've read some bad freaking comics, okay? Um, and I always say there's a comic for everybody, but right now, this, and I hate using the term, it seems like this is really written for not for Green Lanterns fans. It's written for a certain demographic, and it just happens to be Green Lantern. I have a lot of friends who do like Green Lantern, this, that, and they've even checked him out, and they were like, "We're just gonna read War Journal. We're just gonna read regular Green Lantern. This doesn't feel like Green Lantern. It's Green Lantern in name, and that's it." And I'm like, I get it. I was like, and now they're just like, yeah, tell us when it's like when the run's done, like if we should actually read it or not. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm always fair. I'm always balanced. I'm always unbiased. Even if I love Green Lantern, I will try my hardest to always be unbiased in these reviews. But that's it. That's Green Lantern. Alan Scott, Green Lantern #2. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Keep it civil. Keep it respectful. You know, I get when it comes to this characterization in comics and movies, a lot of the vileness comes out. That's not that's not cool on my channel. That is not cool in my comments. I'll delete the comments after I screenshot them and like kind of tell you, hey, like, you're being a dick. But I thank you guys for watching. I got some more comic book stuff working on. I got some other stuff as well. I got the new merch, the Henshin hoodie. You can go over onlyhenshins.com, check that out. I got some other stuff I'm working on, but I got a lot of comics to read and videos to review, or videos to record. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.